Right, everyone, well, welcome back. And we're very luckily joined today by, in my opinion, one of Australia's biggest rising prospects in MMA, Jack James. So, firstly, guys, co-host Josh can't be with us today. He had some things to take care of, but as always, he's with us in spirit. So, Jack, how you going today, man?
Good, thanks, Alex. Good training session today as well, so feeling good right now.
Yeah, it's always the best feeling coming home after a good training session. So, look, man, I want to get straight into it. I was wondering if you could walk me through sort of your introduction to martial arts. How did you begin your martial arts journey?
Yeah, well, really, I just started training jiu-jitsu at the Courage Training Centre. It's a gym I've been at the whole time, and I really just showed up one time for some fitness and something to do, and then all of a sudden, within 1 month, I was doing jiu-jitsu competitions just because I loved it so much. And then I suppose we just progressed from there. A year or two of doing some kickboxing training and that, and then having padded Muay Thai fights and then unpadded fights, and then I suppose just work my way up to amateur MMA fights all the way to pro fights.
No, definitely. And you kind of touched on it there. And, it leads into my next question, which is you started with jiu-jitsu, and something that I've noticed from the fights of yours that, I've seen in person is that you've modified your jiu-jitsu quite well for MMA in terms of you flow through positions very well. At least in my experience, a lot of people that I've seen who started off with jiu-jitsu sometimes commit to certain positions a little bit more, or they accept being on their back. Was sort of learning to make those minor adjustments with your jiu-jitsu for MMA, was that a little bit difficult, or were you able to pick it up pretty quickly?
Yeah, I suppose it is a little bit difficult. It's just something that my coach reminds me of all the time, that self-defense jiu-jitsu and sport jiu-jitsu are two different things. And I definitely love sport jiu-jitsu. I love rolling upside down and all those sorts of positions as well. But when we're in a fight camp training for MMA, Coach Bone just always reminds me to stay on top, stay on top. So we drill that so much. Like every night it's, stay on top, float through positions, or if you're on the bottom, just trying to get back up.
Yeah, positional rounds, which is really good to hear. But Jack, you're still so early in your career, but I kind of wanted to know, with your journey so far, what are sort of the biggest struggles that you've had in the game of MMA so far? Whether it's, injury based, or whether it's, something mentally, in terms of, because we hear a lot that, MMA, it's the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and it can be a really tough sport to just grind through. So I was just wondering if you have had any sort of major struggles with the game so far.
Not really. I haven't had any major injuries, which I'm very happy about. Things that happen all the time, just all that you kind of have to work through. But I've never been sidelined for a major period of time. Anyway, there was one period where it was pretty hard trying to find fights and that, like just fights falling through. You have a fight lined up, someone gets injured, all of a sudden, 3-month period of time. And I think there was a period of time there where I didn't fight for a little bit over a year, just because things like that were happening. Then maybe I was injured for a few months, and then you have a fight, a few months, someone pulls out, there's another few months, and before you know, if you're not trying to stay active like that, you miss out on a whole year of training. So that's probably the trickiest part, I'd say, was say a year of time off when I think we're young now, while we're still young, fit and healthy, is when we need to be really trying to smash out those fights in a row.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that is one thing that we're definitely going to talk on a little bit later, but you are really active on the scene, which is good to see. A lot of people, especially young, and of course I understand things happen, but they'll take a fight, take a year off, take a fight, take a year off. And, I think that's part of the reason why your development and growth, even just fight to fight, is so big, is that you stay active. But circling back, we talked about it a little bit before the interview, but you're at Courage Training Center. I was just wondering if you could talk me through, because there are nowadays, especially, there's so many different gyms and options that you would have open to you. What is it that makes Courage Training Center and the coaches there the perfect gym for you as a martial artist?
Yeah, well, everyone's there to help each other out. That would be the main thing. Whenever we have rounds, because we have people fighting boxing, people fighting kickboxing, people doing jiu-jitsu tournaments and all that, but the team's just always there to help everyone. So really, we don't have any other active MMA fighters. I'm the only person at the gym that's had an MMA fight besides the other coaches. But the jiu-jitsu guys will jump in MMA rounds, the strikers will jump in MMA rounds, and everyone's just together, one team, one focus of the goal, which is whoever has a fight coming up, everyone's helping them out through their round, showing up, before and after classes early. That's why I think it's just the perfect gym for me as well, because I can send a message to the MMA group chat, who's coming in early, boom, 5 to 10 that help me out.
Yeah, no, and that team dynamic is so important. So you're obviously returning to Beatdown in a couple of months, and we will touch on that fight. But I just wanted to know, what's your experience been like working with, Beatdown so far? As from the outside looking in, and someone who's just done the media for the event, it is it seems a very professionally run environment, and the fight card, it has that sort of feel where it doesn't feel like this is just a local show where two dudes are going to go belt each other in the car park. Like, it feels like a proper show. But from your perspective, what's your experience been like working with them?
Yeah, I think I've never had any troubles with Damien or Beatdown Promotions. It runs so smoothly. They look after us well, pre, post fight, even the simple things like accommodation and all that. But everything's at the venue.
Mm.
The hotel's across the road. You cut weight 2 minutes away from the weigh-ins. There's all the food shops at the weigh-ins as well. The show runs smoothly. It's on time. They put the fights in order, boom, 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 and go out in a row. There's no, 20-minute intermissions every three. You know what time your fight's up. That's why I think it's so good. But, I've also fought on Eternal, which I thought was, flawless as well. So both promotions, I've never had any problems with them.
Yeah, excellent. So obviously you're returning June 24th against Sebastian Mori, and I believe this might be your first international opponent. Do you think the experience in terms of the actual fight could differ a little bit from, fighting a local talent here in Australia?
Yeah, it's definitely, I feel like I want to say a step up in competition, but it's also a step up in, like, it's just a bigger stage, I would say, to perform, like a bigger mental battle as well, that you feel like, they're flying someone in from overseas to fight you, compared to just you're fighting someone at the local gym where the show's held. Like, you're fighting compared to fighting someone from overseas. Not that I would say, that sounds like I'm saying that the local scene wouldn't be as good. I think the local scene is really good, but it just sounds like that. It's like, oh, they're bringing
it has a bigger fight feel.
Yeah, it does. It really does feel like that. Like, it's a bigger fight camp, and it feels really exciting for me as well. Like, every time I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty fun. That sounds cool.
Yeah, exactly. You can maybe you can walk out wearing an Australian flag.
Yeah.
But it kind of leads into my next question, which is, something that my co-host and I have noticed from when we've interviewed you and seen you at Beatdown Promotions and seeing you in other media is that you keep a really strong and fun energy, both before and after your fights. And, while the game of MMA is, it's of course very serious, real things can happen, but is sort of keeping the game still, fun? Is that important for you so that, maybe it doesn't start to feel like, a chore or something that you have to do?
Yeah, it has to be fun. I think if it's not fun, you don't want to fight. So if you have a fight, which I have done before in the past, where I felt like I always feel like there's a lot on the line in a fight, but there was so much leading up to it that it just wasn't fun because it was so stressful. But now it's like, now I really enjoy fighting as such, because the whole process, the lead up, the week of chatting to people like you and all those sorts of things, I just feel like keeping that fun energy before and after, it makes the fight fun.
Yeah, for sure. So look, Jack, man, last question for me today. I don't want to keep you too long. It's a very nice afternoon, at least here where I am in Australia, and, really appreciate you giving us some time. But I wanted to kind of know, because we get really different answers on this question. What is the end goal for you? Is it the UFC, or, we've heard from a few pros that they kind of just kept fighting and saw where it took them. And then at a certain point, they were like, okay, wow, I've won 8 fights as a pro. I can become champ. But what is the end goal for you? Or are you just sort of taking each fight as they come?
Yeah, my end goal is definitely UFC and going all the way. I suppose it might have started just having some fights, but it's definitely going all the way. And now, just say fighting pro, then the next step would be trying to be the Australian champ, and then fighting internationally, then trying to make it to the UFC. Like, there's just there's steps and goals that have a little goal book that I write down each night. I'm
Mm.
just trying to work my way through that and tick them off. So it definitely is going all the way.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And I think you definitely have the potential to do that. So look, Jack, thank you so much for joining us today, man. It means a lot. Really appreciate you giving us some time. We can't wait to see you back in there on June 24th against Tsubasa Mori. I know that we'll be there covering the event and it's going to be a great fight. All the
Yeah.
best, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.